I'm Karen Culver. I'm from the Wooddale Library in Adult Services. And with me today are Nada, also from Wooddale, and Bill from Wooddale, and David and Chris from the Bensenville Library. And we're here to introduce a new opportunity for job seekers and for people who are trying to build their resumes. This comes in the form of a grant that was received through collaboration, which is always a good idea, between the Wooddale and the Bensenville Library. It's called Project Recovery. So Bill, can you explain what Project Recovery is?
Karen, Project Recovery is actually a national effort in response to the economic devastation that's been caused by the pandemic. It's sponsored by the Public Library Association, working in collaboration with Google. And public libraries across the United States are working together to intensify their efforts to help individuals whose jobs have been affected by the pandemic. In response to this, the Bensenville Library and the Wooddale Library applied for the funding to be a part of this national recovery effort. And both of the libraries were accepted into the program. And here we are today to share some of the resources available to Bensenville and Wooddale residents to help them with their job searching efforts.
Thank you. And Nada, could you tell us about Grow with Google and the certifications that they offer?
So Grow with Google is actually partnering with the American Library Association to help bring free digital literacy classes to people all online. And so they do have a lot of certificates that are available at a low cost that can help get you into IT, which is a high-paying field. Currently, the average IT salary is about $50,000. So if you are interested in getting into that higher-paying field, or you're looking to get skills to help you move into a new job, Grow with Google offers classes for about $50 a month, and then they are all at your own pace. So this is a program that's really flexible, and it's great for people who are working a full-time job or have a family that they're taking care of, because you can do it at your own pace. It can take anywhere between 4 months and a year, and you pay as you go. That's another great thing about the program. If you're really motivated and devoted to finishing it quickly, you don't have to pay for the full year. You only pay for the 4 months that you're in the course. And the course is $50 a month, and then they do have grants and scholarships, which can make it even cheaper and in some cases free. And then we can help you to apply for those education grants. And it might also be eligible for a grant through WorkNet Delaware, which is another program that we'll feature later on in the program. And then Grow with Google is a great way to make your resume look like you're more adept at technology, and it teaches you how to use things like virtual hangouts, cloud computing, collaborative documents. So those are all great things to put on your resume.
Bill, how can people use Google to find a job?
Well, you know, just about everybody knows what Google is and has used it. And I think if you've used the internet even a little bit, you've used Google. It's really the foremost search engine available. And it's relatively easy to use, and of course it's free. Here's the thing though, Google users typically type in a keyword or two, perform the search, and end up with a list of links that respond to those keywords, and that's usually perfectly fine. They get what they want. But job searching is a more specialized search, and just doing a standard Google search may not be as effective. Job searching is tedious and difficult, and now that most job searching is done online, I think it helps tremendously to formulate search strategies for Google, save them, and then reuse them. Each day, you don't have to recreate them each time. Keep them and use them over and over. What you have to do, of course, is just the basic stuff. You need to create a resume that's adaptable. You need to determine parameters for the job that you're hoping to find. full-time, part-time, geographic location, educational requirements, salary expectations, all of that stuff. You need to have an adaptable cover letter. And then the big one, you need to find lists of current job opportunities, what they require, and the process for application. And then, of course, you need to prepare for an interview, and you need to follow up with appropriate documents. So Nada was just talking about Grow with Google, and Grow with Google will help you with every one of those things, and that's really why we recommend it so highly. Finding current job openings will work much better for you, as I said, if you have a well-developed search strategy, and we'll look at a few of those a little later on in this program. But as you listen to the rest of what we're going to say today, and it goes by so quickly, and there's so much, what I'd really like you to keep in mind is that all we can do here is give you an overview of the services that we have available. But we want you to know we all stand ready to work with you to explain every one of these things in as much detail as you care to have. Call us, stop by either library, email us, whatever works best for you. I keep hearing the phrase and seeing the phrase, we're all in this together. In the job search and the techniques of doing effective job searches, we certainly are all in this together. We're ready to help.
Okay, I think most people who've looked for a job realize that sometimes looking for a job is harder than the job itself in many cases. So any help that you can get. So David, can you talk about resume resources available to Bensenville patrons?
Yeah, you know, they always say that you never get a second chance at a first impression. And so often for employers, your resume and your cover letter is your first impression. At the library, the Bensenville Library, we have all of the sort of traditional resources that you might think for creating a resume. We have books on the subject. We have computers and copiers and printers to help you put together your resume. I think probably the biggest resource that we have that we can offer, and this is sort of piggybacking off what Bill said, is the staff. All of the adult reference staff have certainly created their own resumes, and we've helped hundreds of residents do that over the last few years. So we have a lot of experience in putting those things together. More practically, with resumes and cover letters at the library, we always offer to print those and copy those for free for patrons. We also make a habit of keeping nice resume paper available for people that they can use free of charge. So again, there's just a ton of different resources. The biggest is really our staff coming in and making that connection and sitting down and working through the process together.
Okay, Nada, would you say that this is also true of the Wooddale Library, and what resources, resume resources does Wooddale have?
Definitely. So we also have staff that is always on hand to help assist with resume creation, and we're always happy to print on resume paper for patrons as well. And we offer many of the same services that David mentioned. And we also do have Cypress Resume, which is something that I really want to highlight. That's a database that our library subscribes to, and it's a really great resource for people who are building their first resume or who are trying to update their resume but don't really know how to format things in a way that resumes require. So essentially, it's an application where you go in and you put in your information like your name, address, and other things like your educational background and any work experience you've had. And you answer the questions and pick skills that the system pulls up for you based on the jobs that you're looking at. And then at the end of it, it formats it into a perfect resume or cover letter. And you can even choose if you'd like it to be more traditional or modern looking. And you don't have to do any of the formatting yourself. So it's a great and easy way to get the perfect resume that fits the job that you're looking for. And then we also do have A to Z databases, which is a nationwide search engine that you can look for jobs all across the country with. So if you're looking to relocate to a different state or a different part of this state, then you can go on there and find job opportunities and connect with employers that way. And then finally, we do offer email resume review. So you can email us at recoveryproject2020@gmail.com, and we'd be happy to look over your resume and send you back any comments or suggestions that we have, and we'll try to get back to you within 24 hours.
One thing I think is really nice about Cypress is that it's saved on the internet, and you can bring it up wherever you want to. You don't have to be in the library. It's not something that you've got on your own computer. It's just out there for you.
Yeah,
so I think that it's very handy.
That is really important. I think that working through the library, we've all noticed that we do get a lot of the same patrons come in because they have misplaced their resume over the years, or they might not have it in their email or USB. So that is a really nice feature.
So Chris, can you offer some tips for successful resume writing? For some of us, it's been a long time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think for a lot of people, if they haven't had to keep their resume updated, if they've been working at the same job for a long time, but suddenly, now find themselves in need of it, it can be kind of a daunting task, and they sort of don't know where to start. And just like Neda said, it is important to have your resume formatted in a way that makes it easy to read. But in terms of the content of your resume, that's also difficult because people don't really know how to take a step back and sort of market themselves, which is really what you're doing. You want your resume to sort of give a clear idea of what you would bring to the job that's unique or, might be different from the rest of the applicants. So I think the way that I always try to look at it is that you should maybe take a look at your past work experience and not focus on the details of the particular, tasks that you've performed, but more try to, and it's difficult again, but take a step back, look at what you uniquely brought to that task, and then sort of you can make that generalization about yourself. So I've helped many people sort of try to do this in the past, and somebody might say, okay, well, I don't really know what to say. And I'll be like, okay, well, so how would you describe yourself? Not even at work, like what would you say about yourself? And someone, that you would tell someone about you. And even something is saying like, oh, well, I'm a pretty nice person. I like being around people, and, everyone seems to like me. Like that's something that can translate to your resume, that can, that sort of personal interaction, you might take it for granted, but an employer, if they saw that, you're an excellent team member and that you work really well with others, like that makes a huge difference. Not everybody can say that. So I always try to tell people to sort of, take a hard look at yourself and really allow yourself to give yourself compliments, really. Because if you don't put those things down, no one else is going to. So I think that's a big part of resume writing. If I was just going to give one more sort of general tip, it also, a combination of, sort of clear-headed self analysis and, advocacy is important, but also looking at, keeping your resume as more of a template and then tailoring your resume for each job application that you apply to, so that you can, if they're, they all have a list of requirements that they're looking for, and it's important to, sort of parrot those requirements and pepper them in to your resume, that same language. So, the person who wrote that job description or the job requirements might not be the same person who is reviewing the resumes. So, they might just say, hey, hand them a stack of applications and say, okay, see who matches this the best. And it's going to give you a leg up if you are, oh, well, this person said this in the resume and that's exactly what we're looking for. So, it's something as simple as that can actually go a long way in helping you out.
Chris, what are your thoughts on sort of length of resume? Do you have a sort of standard that you try to keep people to?
Yeah, well, you don't want to overwhelm whoever is, reading it, I would say it comes more down to the work experience. You don't want to include, you're applying for a job. You don't have to, I should say, include the past 10 jobs that you've had. Give them, because that's really usually the section that takes up the most space on a resume is the work experience. So I usually say stick to a nice round, 3, the last 3 jobs you've had and your responsibilities there. That generally will kind of keep the overall length if you're including, I like to include a skills section at the top, which is sort of more general things that are, my selling points that are true no matter where I've worked, and then go for the work experience. But then if people might include an education section and a references section, it'll keep it around 1.5, 2 pages. I wouldn't really go too much longer than that, just because then it is, work for someone to have to go through tons of resumes in a day, and you want to be sort of as concise and to the point as you can. So I would say, I'm not one of these people that's like, oh, one page, that's it, get it down to 1 page. I think 2 pages, totally fine, but 3, you might be pushing a little bit.
Yeah. I actually would just like to add that even if you have a job and you think you're going to have the job for the rest of your life, when you get a mini promotion or you get a grant or you get a scholarship, that needs to go on your resume. You shouldn't be forgetting about that. I've had staff members that I've told this to, and they're saying, well, are you telling me to go get another job? No, I'm not. I'm just saying keep your resume up.
It can be hard.
It's really easy to forget that.
When you sit down and it's finally time to do that, it's hard to remember.
Remember everything that you've done. Bill, how does Grow with Google help you with your resume?
Well, actually, Grow with Google does for you much of what Chris has been talking about. It will walk you through a series of videos and text documents that will instruct you, ask you questions, you answer those questions, and once you've worked your way through it, you will have pretty much all of the data that you need to create a resume. But, Karen, those of us of a certain age remember typing our resume.
Oh, yes.
Counting the spaces and trying to get things to line up, and it was a different world. What Grow with Google does, and some of these other resources as well, they do the formatting for you. They walk you through it, you answer the questions, you get to the end, you press enter, and voila, you have a resume. For some people, using something like Grow with Google is the best way, because you can work there 24 hours a day if you want to, 7 days a week. It's always there, and you can work at your own pace, and that's good. For others, though, maybe coming to one of us, we can do the same thing, only in person. And we can walk you through the very same process, and we will use an online tool to help us format, so we don't have to worry about that. But I think I can safely say this. I think David and Chris would agree with me that if you come into the library with really no idea how you're going to do this or what you're going to put on your resume, get some help from one of us, and about an hour later, you will leave the library with a finished resume in your hand.
Cool.
Absolutely.
David, at Bensenville, do you help with resume reviews?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
individual basis?
Yeah, we did. We do that a lot. I would say it's always helpful to maybe give us a call because it is a process and it does require some one-on-one work, and it can take upwards of an hour to go through that. So it's not a bad idea to call the library before you stop by for that. But any of the adult services reference librarians would be more than happy to do that. In recent history, we've taught some resume classes at the library. I know Chris has taught some of those classes. So staff is really good, and they've gone through this process a lot. And we're always happy to sit down with somebody and work through their resume, whether that be creating it from inception or kind of just updating what you already have.
So Nada has already talked about Wooddale and resume reviews, but Bill, do you have any more to say about that?
I would just emphasize what Dave said about calling ahead and making sure that someone has set aside the time to help with you. There's always somebody here to help you, but give us a call and we'll set a time and we'll be sure and give you our full attention. And I'll also just say once again, the email address, if you'd like to email your resume and have us look it over and get back to you, is recoveryproject2020@gmail.com.
Great. That seems like it'd be pretty convenient, I think. So Nada and I were looking for some books on writing resumes and looking for jobs. And on the cover of one of them, and believe it or not, this is a new book, there was a person looking at the want ads in a newspaper. Now, maybe you can find a job this way, but David, can you talk about online job sites? Because I think it's more likely that you might find something.
Yeah, and I think that we'll kind of talk about, what makes a credible site and what are some good resources for you to try to use. But I think the biggest thing is, if you haven't been in the market recently, so much has changed, and the internet is really the place that employers are going to try to recruit new talent. So the majority of jobs that you're going to find that are available are posted somewhere online. I mean, that's really the biggest reason to start there. It can certainly be overwhelming if you haven't been in the market to try to distill what is a good resource and what is a reputable site. And it can be frustrating that sometimes not all salaries and hourly rates are listed. It certainly can be overwhelming if it's an online form, trying to fill out all these things, because they do take a lot of time. A lot of times they'll ask you to do surveys or personality questionnaires and things like that online too. So, I mean, it can be overwhelming. But really, if you're looking for a new position, the place that you need to go is the internet, because that's where employers are and that's where they're posting those positions.
Nita, what do you think are the best job search sites available to our community?
Okay, so we all know about job sites like Indeed, Monster, ZipRecruiter. So those are sites that I would recommend starting on. But one site that I really like is Glassdoor. So that's a website that doesn't necessarily connect you directly to a job. You can't really apply to a lot of jobs on that site, but it does give you insight into the company that you're looking into applying for. So that offers reviews from previous employees, and it can kind of give you a sense of the corporate culture. And I think that's really important for people to take a look at before they apply for a job. So like David was saying, a lot of the applications are really intense and they require a lot of time. And so you want to make sure that the job you are applying for is a perfect fit. And then another site that I really like is LinkedIn. So I feel like a lot of people kind of perceive LinkedIn as a site for young professionals, but it can definitely be used by other demographics. And it's a great site because you can add all of your information in, including a resume, and then apply to jobs on other websites directly from LinkedIn. And it's a great place because recruiters can actually find you. So in a lot of cases, potential employers will reach out to you and you don't necessarily have to look for the job. A lot of opportunities can be found that way. And in that way, it's really similar to a social media site. So you can add people that you've gone to school with or that you've worked with and help build your network and find potential jobs that are similar to your skill set. And then I did just want to mention that we have a blog here called Recovery Project. And we post jobs on there every week, and we make sure to include whether or not the jobs come with benefits, if they're full-time or part-time, include any education that's required, and they're all local opportunities in Wooddale and Bensenville. So that's another great resource for you where you can find local opportunities that have been checked for you and include all the information that's important.
That sounds great. Really, something that our patrons, I think, would be looking for.
Mm-hmm.
So Chris, can you explain how to search a job site and find credible listings? I think that's the operative word here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So if you, like you mentioned, the want ads, the internet version of that is Craigslist, essentially. And it is possible to find jobs through Craigslist, but you really have to be skeptical on a site like that where there's really no oversight or very little oversight in terms of what gets listed. A lot of things are sort of maybe scams or don't give you a ton of information. If you're using a site like any of the ones that have been mentioned, where they're specifically for job seekers and employers to connect with each other, that has a bit more, well, quite a bit more credibility to it in terms of, you can feel confident that you're not sort of just trying to get, people, no one's just trying to get your information. I find that having another browser window open and looking at the company's website while you're looking at the job listing, it can tell you more, about the company and the sort of type of environment that it is, than you might be able to glean from just looking at the listing itself. But if you're in terms of search techniques, I would say searching by there's oftentimes in these job search sites, there's a lot of different ways to search. So you can search by keyword, you can search by location, you can search by field. Trying each of those different ways and seeing the different kinds of results that you get. Just because you tried one way does not necessarily mean that you found all the good, relevant listings for you, Also, be sure to really look at that job description. And the more that it seems tailored to what you're looking for, then odds are the better of a fit it will be. If it just pops up because it has sort of some real thin sort of connection to what you're looking for, and then in the description it's equally sort of vague, then it may be, you really have to be a little bit more careful, because they might just be trying to sort of be a catch-all for, as many employees as they can get is good for them, because their turnover is really high, because maybe it's a really terrible place to work or something. So, you just have to be careful and sort of be observant and look. And it takes practice too. They say that looking for a job can be a full-time job, and it is frustrating for sure. A lot of these job sites are competing with each other, Indeed, Glassdoor, Monster, there's a lot of common ground there. And they all have sort of similar setup procedures where it's like, okay, I have to fill out another resume. I just did this on that last site. And it's like, yeah, it is. But it's really just a numbers game, set a limit for yourself, do that every day. And when you get to that limit, you're done. And, that's you putting in your time. So it's tough. It's hard work, and it can be really aggravating, but it's really just, that's the way it happens. That's the way it gets done.
True. Yeah, as we said before, hard work looking for a job. But Bill, if you're online and on a job site, what are some tricks and tips for searching?
I think I need to start by just echoing what Chris just said, that this is tough. And I think the first thing I would suggest is your mindset, that you see job searching as your job right now. And I think you need to set aside a set amount of time each day to devote strictly to job searching. And as you do this, try and keep an accurate record of the jobs that you're looking at. Keep a list, a notebook, or even a piece of paper that you write down what jobs you've looked at, whether they interest you, whether you actually applied for them. And I can add to that Grow with Google offers a module right online which will help you do that. It provides the document for you to fill out, and you'll end up with a lengthy, I hope not too lengthy, I hope you find a job before you have a long list, but it can get so confusing and so frustrating that organization, I think, really can help. I said earlier that searching Google seems to be where most people start, and I think that explaining how to format searching on Google is best done one-on-one, and that's something we will do with you, particularly if you tell us something like, well, I'm looking for this job, describe the job to us, but there's nothing out there. Well, chances are there are things out there, and a more organized and precise search will help you do that. There are a lot of symbols you can use in Google, a plus sign, a minus sign, quotation marks, parentheses. All of those things mean something in a Google search. You can really pinpoint. Perhaps you want to search just for jobs that were posted in the last 3 days. You can do that. You can limit it. Maybe you want to search only for jobs in North Carolina. I don't know why, but maybe you do. And you can do that on Google very easily. Full-time, part-time, all of those are called limiters, and we can show you how to do all of that. And as I said, once you have the searches formulated, keep them. And now you're ready to go every day during your assigned time. Keep in mind as well that these job search listings, all of them change every day, sometimes every hour. You have to keep going back and doing it over and over and over. And you will be just as exasperated as Chris sounded when he was describing that. Unfortunately, that's just the nature of the beast, and it has to be done that way right now. Google does offer you some searching help right online. If you're in Google, you can just bring up a form called an advanced search, and it will help you add in some of these limiters. There are a lot more search tools available. We have a document here we can share with you. It's actually 20 pages of ways to search Google to narrow your searching. But again, just talk to any one of us. We'll guide you through it, and we can, I think, get you started.
Okay, yeah. Google is really useful once you know how to manipulate it. It's true. Nada, can you talk about local job opportunities for those living in Wooddale and Bensenville?
So we're really fortunate to live in the geographic location where we are located. We're really close to the city of Chicago, so there are a lot of opportunities there. But if you're looking for something a little more local, we also do have pretty large industrial parks in both communities. And there are always jobs available in the industrial parks, and not all of them require a degree, and a lot of them do pay pretty well. So if there's anything that you think would fit, those jobs are usually available, and there are new postings constantly, which you can find on different websites. But if you're looking for a site that can really narrow things down locally, then you can use WorkNet DuPage. We have a really great video up on our blog that shows you how to use WorkNet DuPage and how to search for jobs in the local area. And that's a great resource because you can actually reach out to them, give them a call, and they'll be more than happy to walk you through the process as well. And then I also wanted to mention that the County of DuPage posts a lot of jobs online and pretty regularly. We've actually posted 2 new listings up on our blog job board within the last week. So those positions pay relatively well, and they have really great benefits, and they're local. So that's another great place to look for a job if you're looking to stay within the community. And then another suggestion that I would have is to follow the local city pages. So like follow the city of Wooddale or the city of Bensenville on Facebook, Twitter. And whenever there's a post for a job, like at the Park District or at City Hall, you'll find that post and you'll hear from it first. So that's a great way to be able to apply for those jobs before anyone else is able to.
Oh, that is excellent. That's great. So then we have the Illinois Department of Employment Security, and I think that's what IDES stands for. Bill, can you talk about IDES and the programs that are offered?
Well, that is indeed what it stands for, the Illinois Department of Employment Security, and chances are many of us have been there because that's the place where you go to apply for unemployment benefits if that becomes necessary. So I can't say too much more about that, except we all know that they are a bit backlogged at the moment. Again, that's just the way it is, and we have to deal with that frustration. But you may not be aware that IDES also has a job link, it's called, and it is another place for jobs that are primarily in Illinois. You can also post your resume on the IDES site, and employers can look for you instead of you looking for them. Probably a combination of both is the best. And one other thing, through the Illinois Department of Employment Security, you can link up with the Illinois Department of Human Services. And if you are in need of immediate assistance, long-term assistance, health insurance, Medicaid, Medicare, all of those things, you can find them through the IDES. And if you can't, please ask us, because we can.
Great. So Nada already talked a little bit about WorkNet DuPage, but Chris, can you explain a bit more about it?
Yes, WorkNet DuPage is our county's sort of local office for a federal, a national program that was created in 2014 called the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, that the law's name was. And what that does is it sets aside funding for people who are looking for jobs or additional training, or just need really any help at all in terms of career management type stuff. They will help you look for a job. They will help you learn English. They help people get their GEDs. They find internships for people. They help people follow leads. They have a section and that you have to qualify for, but they will get funding for you to get additional training, help you get certification on things. They will also do resume help. They do tons of stuff. They also have some specific populations that they can specifically focus on. They'll help anyone, of course, but they have programs specifically for veterans or people with disabilities, people who've been laid off. There's a large group of people, people who are recovering from addiction. They also will help young people, from ages 17 through like mid-20s. So if you fall into one of those categories, then you may qualify for some special assistance that are that's designed to be tailored for someone in your particular situation.
So Bill, do you have any, can you share any other interesting programs or resources that you know of from WorkNet DuPage?
Yeah, just a couple quick things. I can tell you that I did help someone secure one of the grants, and it was really quite simple. He had lost his job. He was hoping to get a CDL and discovered that CDL training costs about $2,000. He didn't have $2,000. We went to WorkNet DuPage online. He was able to apply for the grant. He got it in just a few days. And the end of the story isn't what you might think. He ended up getting the CDL paid for by WorkNet DuPage, but not using it. And he's an honest sort. And he went back to them and said, look, you paid for this training, and I got it, but I'm not going to use it. They said, that's fine. Our job is not to follow up on whether or not you actually continue with the work. Our job is to help you get the training you need. And if I can add one more quick thing, the prediction is that across the country, there will be a need for over 100,000 contact tracers. And in order to become one in Illinois, you do need to be trained. The College of DuPage offers the contact tracing program. I believe it's a 4-week course that you need to take, and it qualifies for financial assistance through WorkNet DuPage. You can check there. It's not all that expensive to begin with. It's about $300. Well, all right, that is a lot of money right now, isn't it? And WorkNet DuPage is able to help you pay for that class. So there's one more area to look at.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, that's really useful, and what an interesting story about the CDL person. So, well, all this is really great, but if you don't have a computer or you don't know how to use a computer and you want to do these things, what happens, David, at the Bensenville Library?
So at the Bensenville Library, we've tried to remove as many barriers to computer usage as possible. Things look a little bit different now than they did 4 or 5 months ago. We have limited our computers. We have about 8 of them up and running on the adult services side, so they are all appropriately spaced to allow for social distancing. But in order to use a computer at the library, all you need to do is come into the building. We have a dedicated computer lab. We have, like I said, those 8 computers out and are available for patrons to use. You do not need a library card. You do not need to sign up. You simply come in and you sit at one of the open computers. For the time being, we've also made it possible that all printing is free of charge. So people can come in and they can use the computer and they can print whatever materials they need, whether that be resumes or handwritten job applications. We will make sure that we can print all of those things for you free of charge. But that's really it. We do have a computer monitor that is in the computer lab. Frequently, they're not there some mornings, but they are there most of the time, and they can certainly provide some assistance too, just if you have trouble setting up an email or trying to find some of these job sites that we've talked about. And of course, we always have our adult services staff that are more than happy to help as well.
Well, that sounds pretty easy at Bensenville. I also know what Nita's going to say when I ask her about how computer usage works at Wooddale. I do want to mention, though, that maybe, Nita, you're going to say this, but we do take appointments for computer tutoring. And for people who are new at this, they usually need it. So anyway, Nita, what else were you going to say about computers at Wooddale?
Okay, so we have a similar situation to Bensenville. So we also have 8 computers that are available to the public. You don't have to make a reservation. You can come in, and if there is an open computer, you can just take a seat. You also don't need a library card to visit our library. We do offer guest passes. And then, like Karen mentioned, we do have a librarian that offers one-on-one tutoring, and she also does virtual classes right now. So if you're looking for something that's a little less contact and you'd like to have like a virtual class, or you'd like to watch something on our YouTube channel, you can. She has a lot of different tech talks, and she can walk you through how to use different applications. And then we also do have hotspots. So if you have a computer at home but you don't have internet, we can offer you a hotspot, and you can borrow that and use it while you need it to complete your job search. And then that, of course, is no charge, but you do need a library card for that service. And then we also have printing and faxing, and we do offer free scanning if you have documents that you'd like to scan. And currently we do limit you to 1 hour on the computers while the COVID situation is still ongoing. So just be aware that if you do need to do something that takes longer than an hour, you might have to come back for multiple sessions.
Yeah, you touched on a couple of things I should have mentioned too. Yeah, we also have hotspots that patrons can come in and check out, which are really nice. I think we have close to a dozen of those that are available for people.
Okay, Dave, can you tell us what a hotspot is?
So the hotspot, basically, it's a little device that you can come in and check out, and it allows you to connect to your device to the internet. I think the service is provided through T-Mobile, at least ours are, and it works really pretty well here in Bensenville. You can take the device home. It's no bigger than really a credit card, a little bit, wider, but it's pretty small. You can charge it, you turn it on, and then your computer or phone will recognize that as available internet source, and you can connect to that. The first time you do it, it might be a little tricky, but we can certainly help people figure that out if they are interested in checking out one of those devices. We also offer the scanning and faxing and those services that Wooddale offers as well. Chris, you might want to talk about a little bit about how you can provide computer assistance. That's something that is sort of in your wheelhouse too.
Yeah, sure thing. Really, whatever you're doing, we can help you with it. If it is something that is going to take a while, I ask that you call beforehand, just so you can be sure that I'll be able to devote enough time to you. But no matter what it is you're having trouble with, even if you're like, oh, I just got this new smartphone and I've never had one before,
Yeah.
like that's totally something that we do. So just give us a call and I'll say, oh yeah, I've got some time this afternoon, and then we sit down and figure it out together.
Yep.
So yeah, any sort of tech related stuff that you don't, maybe you're embarrassed and don't want to ask your family about or whatever, because they all already know how to do that stuff, like not a problem. Like just let us know and let us do our job.
That's a good way to end this. Let us do our job. And we want to do our job. Does anybody have any other comments or anything to add? So both Wooddale and Bensenville libraries are really willing to help you. Thanks for watching, and we hope that you'll take advantage of these ideas and these programs. And please call or visit your library for help and spread the word. Thanks.